Hey everyone, welcome to the CCV HSM YouTube channel. Before you do anything, if you could please hit the subscribe button and the little bell so you stay up to date with all the content that we're pushing out weekly. We hope this channel is a place for you to be encouraged and even entertained sometimes when you're looking to grow and understand more in your faith. Now, I want to start this video off by playing a fun little game for you, a movie quote game. For any movie buffs out there, I hope that you can ace this no problem. But what I'm going to do, in the most monotone voice ever, I'm going to say a movie quote, which you'll see at the bottom of the screen, and then what I want you to do is as soon as you hear it, I want you to comment in the comment section what you believe that movie quote was from, and an extra point for you if you know who said it. Okay? So here we go. Are you ready? This is the first one. Again, monotone voice. When you hear it, comment what movie you think it's from and who said it. Number 1. You best start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner. You're in one. I'm only going to say these once so they don't take 7 years. That was the first one. Second one, I am Groot. Third one, everyone should know this. Identity theft is not a joke, Jim. Millions of families suffer every year. Number 4, you gonna eat your tots? Number 5, you're a wizard, Harry. I did that one on Zoom, and surprisingly, not many people knew it. It's hard not to do these in the voices as I'm reading them. Honey, where's my super suit? And last but not least, nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Now, I'll go through real quick and list them right here. 1 through 7 of the movie quotes and who said it. But I want to ask you, when I read those, for those of you who knew the movie and the person who said it, you heard my voice, but as soon as you recognized who said it and where it was from, did you actually hear it in their tone of voice? Were you able to picture the scene in which that person said that quote? And I absolutely love the way our mind can almost visually take us to a place where we remember who said what in the situation of that scene. Well, today we're in week 3 of I Am. And what I love about this series is that we've been looking at specific statements from Jesus where he starts with the phrase I am and he finishes it with a metaphor or an example that allows us to know him better. Our first week we looked at John 6:35 where Jesus said, I am the bread of life, in which he performed a miracle just feeding people. But he was talking more so about how, every day we physically eat to maintain and sustain our bodies. Every day we need to spiritually feast on the truth of who Jesus is so that we can come to know him better and grow in our relationship with God. Last week we looked at John 8:12 where Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Jesus stood up for a woman who was caught in the act of adultery. She was about to be stoned to death, about to be condemned, but he was the light in her dark situation, and he wants to be the light of our world for when we're not just going through difficult times, but all the time. And this week, I'm actually going to make an I am sandwich by combining 2 statements from Jesus that actually complement each other. And to be honest, these 2 I am statements from Jesus are some of the most helpful when it comes to trying to understand who Jesus is. All right? So in this scene of the book of John, all these statements are found in John, Jesus is talking with the Pharisees, who I told you last week they're very super religious, rigid by the book, people who knew more about God than who God really was, which Jesus was trying to show them simply by living the life that he did. And so Jesus says this, all right, this is what it is. It's John 10, 1 through 6. Jesus says, very truly I tell you, Pharisees, anyone who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in by some other way, is a thief and a robber. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. You see, the gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize the stranger's voice. Now, Jesus used this figure of speech but the Pharisees did not understand what he was telling them. And when I first read that, I didn't understand what the heck Jesus was getting at. But when I did some more research and looked at the background, the context of what Jesus was saying, here's what's really going on. Back then, in Jesus' time, and even before then, sheep, lamb, and those type of like innocent, white, pure animals, they represented more than just an annoyingly sounding animal covered in wool that you try to count when you fell asleep. Like they weren't just some random thing that just existed. Sheep and lamb and some other animals back then, they were often considered like specific go-to animals when it came to sacrifice. Because back then, people believed that you had to atone for your sins, make up for your mistakes by sacrificing a perfect, innocent little animal like a sheep or a lamb or a dove. Okay? So sheep had many, many, many types of value back then. Spiritually, in that sense of atoning, but also agriculturally for their wool, for farming, and all those different aspects. And so sheep had a lot of value, and sometimes people wouldn't want to sacrifice their own sheep when they messed up. They would try to hop into another person's sheep pen or gate, and they would try to steal people's animals so that they could sacrifice them instead of their own. But here's the cool thing about what Jesus was getting at when he kind of made this speech about sheep knowing the voice and people trying to steal other people's sheep. Here's the main thing he was getting at. Every sheep's secret weapon was its relationship to the shepherd. Every sheep's secret relationship. I can't even say that. Like it's a tongue twister. Every sheep's secret weapon was its relationship to its shepherd. Every sheep's secret weapon was a relationship to its shepherd. Say it 10 times fast. Go. Yeah, you already messed up, I bet. That's what kept it safe. I mean, look at what Jesus says next. This is John 10, 7 through 11. Therefore, Jesus says again, very truly, I tell you, I am the gate for all the sheep. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. But I, Jesus, I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. So we hear in this section of verses 7 through 11, we have the first and the second I am statement all combined in a small chunk. The first I am statement is I am the gate. The second one is I am the good shepherd. And it may be like, well, we do usually an I am statement a week, but now Jesus is giving us two. Again, these complement each other. And what I don't want you to do, I don't want you to overcomplicate this. I want you to imagine that Jesus, for you and for me, Jesus is the gate for which we find our purpose, our identity, and our destiny. And all throughout the Bible, sheep are symbolic, not of just of some random animal, but of you and of me. Constantly getting lost, constantly not taking care of ourselves, having to be led around everywhere. And guess what we do the entire time? We complain. I mean, isn't that true for you and me in our relationship with God sometimes? We're wanting more out of life. We're wishing things were different. We're stumbling around, not sure of what's going on, and we just want someone to fix everything. We're constantly complaining. We're constantly wanting more. And so that's why sheep, in a weird way, do kind of represent us. But what Jesus is getting at is not focusing on who the sheep are necessarily, but who he is to the sheep. So who is Jesus to the sheep? Who is Jesus to you and me? He tells us. Not only is he the gate, but he's the good shepherd. And this is so important because this is where Jesus draws the distinction between a faraway God in the clouds that we sometimes send hopeless requests and prayers to complain about life and just mumble around. Jesus makes the distinction between that and a good shepherd who is close enough so that sheep like you and me know his voice and we're not distracted by the other noises and the things that could tempt us or draw us elsewhere. A good shepherd takes care of his flock, leads his flock, loves his flock. But that's not it. Look how Jesus ends the statement of being a good shepherd, and this just kind of encapsulates it all. This is John 10, 11 through 15. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. You see the hired hand? He's not the shepherd, and he doesn't own the sheep. So when he sees a wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks and the flock scatters. The man runs away because he's a hired hand and he cares nothing for the sheep. But me, I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me. Just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I laid down my life for the sheep. What a good shepherd. And what a good God he really is. I mean, just think about this real quick. Think how counterintuitive and contradicting it would be for a shepherd who can do whatever he wants with his sheep. He could sell them, he could buy them, he could shear them, he could kill them. If one goes off running, he knows that he can get another one the next day. It just doesn't make sense that a shepherd would lay down his life for his sheep. And it doesn't make sense that God would send Jesus to lay down his life for us, for you, and for me. But because he did, we can trust him. We can know him, and we can know his voice, and we can be led by that. That's the relationship, and that's what Jesus was trying to introduce through these I am statements. Your friends, your habits, your distractions can occupy you. They can fill time, but they'll never fill you. They'll never sacrifice for you. Jesus will. Jesus has. He holds you close to his heart because he loves you that much. And so this week, all I want you to do is I want you to memorize one simple verse, and that is Isaiah 40:11. This is spoken by the prophet Isaiah, chapter 40, verse 11, and he's talking about God, and he describes him in this way. He tends his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs in his arms, and he carries them close to his heart. And one question to think about is, what would it look like for you to get to know Jesus' voice a little better? What would it look like for you to become familiar with Jesus' voice? Well, if you look at Isaiah 40:11, it says he tends his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs in his arms, and he carries them close to his heart. And I want you to imagine that intimacy, that closeness real quick. Have you allowed yourselves just the possibility to conceive that God wants to be that close with you? I don't want you to think of every excuse and every experience to where you felt like God's abandoned you. You felt like, have you allowed the idea that God really did send Jesus as a good shepherd to sacrifice himself for us, his sheep, so that we can know him, so that we can be that close to him, to hear God's heartbeat for us? That's what God desires. He made that move for us. What move can you make this week to know his voice a little better, to prioritize time with him a little better this week? I've been loving this I Am study, and I'm excited for next week. So again, be sure to hit the subscribe button. I hope this content was encouraging to you. If it was, please share it. Please let other people know that this channel is a place where they can come and be encouraged in their faith. Guys, we miss you. We love you. We're praying for you every single day. Hope you have a great week. See you next time.